This month we're going to learn a solo instrumental arrangement of Cats in the Cradle. This was voted on over at my Patreon page, where each month we do a different song. And if you'd like to sign up and download the tab, the link is in the description below. But let's go ahead and jump into the intro of this song. To start here, we're going to be quite up high on the neck. We're going to start with our index finger here on 8 of the E string. We're going to take our ring finger and place it on 10 of the A. And you'll notice that 10 on the A is actually not played right away, but it's the second note. So by having that there, we can strum our G, C, and E strings and then play our 10 on the A right afterwards. And then we follow this with a strum through of all 4 strings. And that's the first measure. As we go into the second measure, we're going to hold our index finger here, and then we're going to stretch our pinky finger out to 12 on the A string. We're going to strum through all 4 of those strings. Then we're going to come back down to 10 on the A, which we're going to use our ring finger. And then our ring finger has to jump here to 10 on the E. I find this to be one of the more difficult transitions in the song, so it's just important to practice go back and forth between them because they're running eighth notes. So we're going to have to go 12, 10, 10. And then if you're holding your index finger here still on 8 of the E, which you should be, you'll notice that's the very next note. And then to finish that measure, we have 8 on the A as well. So if we bar our index here across the E and the A strings, we get the full chord that we need for the end of the second measure there. So that second measure is something like this. Now as we go to the third measure, we're going to take this little bar that we started with and we're just going to slide it down to fret 3 and then take our ring finger and add it on the 5th fret of the A string. So we have 0, 0, 3, 5. We're going to strum through those 4 strings. Then we're going to remove the ring finger, so it's 0, 0, 3, 3. So pretty simple measure here. It's more of a filler in time. As we go on to measure 4, which sort of concludes this part, we're going to move to a G minor chord. The way we play that is our middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, our ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string, and our index finger here on the 1st fret of the A string. Strum through all 4, and then we need to stretch our pinky out to 5 on the A. Now, if you can hold everything while you make this stretch, awesome. If it's too big of a stretch, it's okay to take fingers off to help that. The best finger to take off is the index because the A string is now being played with the pinky. If you can get that stretch, awesome. But again, if you have to take the fingers off, it's okay. So we have that as our measure 4. So these first 4 bars together, really, really slow, should sound something like this. Now from here we go on to measure 5, which we start with just a C chord. And what you'll notice with this measure 5 is that we're now into the verse of the song. So from this point forward, we're going to be playing the lyrics of the tune after that C chord. You'll notice that the first note with a lyric is that 3 on the E string, and that's going to be the word my. And to play this, we're going to use our index finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string. So we're going to play 3 with the index for the word my. And then we're going to slide it all the way up to 8 and play our G, C, and E strings all the way through for the word child. So we have my child. Then we're going to add the ring finger on 10 of the A, much like we did in the intro, and strum that single string for the word And then rived, we're going to play through all 4 strings. So you'll see that we're still holding that 8 on the E, and now we have that 10 on the A with the ring. Then we're going to play the 10 on the A for just, and it gets a little more spicy here because we're going to play the 6 on the A for the word the. And to do this, we're going to take our index finger, we're going to bar it across the 6th fret of the E and the A strings. Now right now we only are playing the 6 on the A, but it's really important to do this because of what it sets up. If we play that 6 on the A, now what we can do is build this little chord around it with our middle finger here on the 7th fret of the C string, and our ring finger here on the 8th fret of the A string. But with that bar, our index is playing the 6 on the E, which gives us the 0, 7, 6, 8 that we need for the chord that's on the word of other. So just that much. My child arrived just the of is something like this. My child arrived just the of. And then for day, we hold this same shape and we add our pinky here to the 10th fret of the A string. So still holding the middle finger on the C and the index here on the E. We're going to play the 10 on the A twice, day, and then we strum through all 4 strings as a little filler. You'll notice no lyric written there, therefore it's more of a filler chord that we want to play a little softer. So we have other day, and then the word he is going to be the 6 on the E string, which is already built into this shape. Now as we go on to measure 8, we go to 9-8-8 for the chord. And all that we have to do is take off our pinky and ring fingers, and our middle and index fingers should be at that 7 and 6-6. And if we just slide this up 2 frets, you'll notice now we're at 9 with the middle finger on the C string, and that little bar there with the index finger across 8 of the E and the A strings. So if we play through our C, E, and A strings now, we have the chord that we need for the start of measure 8. And we're going to play the 8 on the A, which is already there. Then we need a 10 on the E, so we just take our ring finger and place on 10 of the E string and go back and forth now. And that completes that measure. So if we're looking at it from the beginning of 8, we have came to the world in the. So again, it's just these sort of shapes that are moving up. And it's all about creating opportunities to be really efficient with the fretting. So we want to make sure we're using really correct fingering as we go through. Let's go ahead and start at the top of the verse and work through this much just so far. So starting with the word my. So we have my child arrived just the other day. He, slide up, came to the world in the. And now we go to measure 9. And with this measure 9, we're going to play usual way. And for this, all that we need to do is we need to go back to our previous voicing that we were just playing. So we're now at the, we were just at the F, and now we're going to go back to 0, 0, 8, 10. So our index finger can stay barred across the 8th fret of the E and the A. And now our ring finger comes here to the 10 of the A string. We play through all 4 strings. And then usual way, but there were. All of those notes, all the 8 on the E, which should already be there. So we have usual way, but there were. Going into measure 10, we have planes to catch. And you'll notice that that's pretty much the same as my child arrived. It's still holding this same shape. And we're going to play just the G, C, and E for planes. And then just the E for 2. And then catch is the A. And then all through 4 for a little filler. And then we're going to do the same movement down to the 6. So we're going to slide that bar down so that we're barred across the E and the A strings on the 6th fret. Play just the 6 on the A. And then we build that same chord where we leave the bar there, move the middle finger to 7 on the C, and the ring finger here to 8 on the A. Strum through all 4. Add the 10 on the A with the pinky. Strum through all 4. And that's going to be and bills to pay. So we go right on into measure 12. This is a little bit different. We're going to now bar across the 5th fret completely with our index finger. And then we're going to play our G, C, and E strings, stopping at our A, as a little filler. You'll notice no words associated here. And then we're going to play the 5 on the A, and then the 8 on the A with the pinky. And we're just going to go back and forth. And that's going to be, he learned to walk while I. And so you can see that it's just this shape that's played up. And you'll notice this actually is a shape you might have used before. It's like a D chord or a C chord even, just moved all the way up. In this case, it's playing an F. If you're struggling to get a good tone with a bar that's complete like that, I recommend taking your middle finger and actually stacking it over the index. And also make sure you get right up next to that fret wire. That can make a world of difference in getting a good tone as you're going up. So measure 12 is just going, he learned to walk while I. So if we hear now this 9 through 12 really, really slowly with the words, it should be something like this. It should be usual way, but there were planes to catch and bills to pay. He learned to walk while I. Now we're going to go on to measure 13. We should already have our pinky here at the 8th fret of the A string from the previous chord. So when we look at 13, we still have the 8 on the A, so we're going to leave our pinky there. Then we're going to take our ring finger and stretch it over to the 8 on the E string so that we have 0, 0, 8, 8. So we're taking away the index from that previous bar, leaving the pinky to set that up. And we have was away, where you can see was away is all on the E string there, which is already held on 8. And then to complete that measure, we play on the 8 on the E 3 more times, and he was. So that measure 13 is was away, and he was, just with those 2 fingers. Really critical, get right up to the fret wire. If you find that you're doing something like this, you want to tilt that hand, angle it in a way where those fingers can get right up next to that fret wire. As we go to 14, 14 is pretty tricky, and this is really where you need a high G to play it the way that's written. But if you're a low G player, I'm going to have a little solution for you too. But the way that's written for the high G, we're going to be barring across the 5th fret, and then we're going to be taking our middle finger and placing it on the 6th fret of the E string. And so this is especially challenging because we don't get our 2nd finger to help with the bar. We have to get that good bar integrity with just the index. So we want to get right up next to that fret wire. Middle finger here on 6 of the E string. And the reason why we need this is because while we only play the C, E, and the A strings first, for talk, in is going to be the 5 on the G, which is a C note. Now if you're playing on a low G uke, you can't play this 5 on the G string and make it sound okay because it doesn't work. So what you'll have to do instead is play 8 on the on the E string to get that C note. So if you're playing a low G uke, anytime you see that 5C, play an 8 on the E. But if you're on a high G like I am, this just gives you more efficiency with how you play it. And so you can go now, talk in 4I. You'll see that we're just holding that shape going between our G and A strings. Again, if you're on a low G, you're going to be going between your E and A strings with the 8th fret. Or for a low G. And the second half of this measure, we're going to take the middle finger off of the 6th fret of the E string so that we just are barring across 5. Play our C, E, and A. And then the A again, and the A one more time. So that measure with the words essentially is going, talkin' for I knew it, and then from here we got to make a big switch with our fretting. We're going to slide down to 2, 3, and 5. Index finger on 2nd fret of the C string, middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the E, pinky finger here on the 5th fret of the A. We're going to strum through those strings, and then we're going to play our ring finger on 3 of the A, and then our index on 1 of the A. So that is as he grew. Then we've got a little filler chord. Kind of like a B flat. We're going to take our index, bar it across the 1st fret of just the E and the A strings, then add our middle finger here to the 2nd fret of the C string, strum through all 4. Nice and soft because again, there's no words with it, so it's just a filler chord. And then to finish that measure, we're going to play 3 on the E with our ring finger. He'd say 1 on the A with the index finger. And then we're going to play, he'd say, I'm gonna be like. And this is where we really start to get to the hook of the song. And so at this point, we're going to play 0, 3, 3, 1. Middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the C string. Ring finger stacked underneath on the 3rd fret of the E string. Index finger here on the 1st fret of the A string. What's really important to get a good tone with this chord is to not try to keep your hand straight, but tilt it. Tilt the fingers kind of towards your shoulder so that you can facilitate that scrunch of the fingers. I also like to kind of balance my uke a little bit on my knuckleball right there with my thumb coming a little bit more up and over. It helps me turn my hand more of an angle so I can get right up into that fret wire with all 3 of those fingers. But this is a really important shape because we're going to use it throughout the song. So we're going to play that 0, 3, 3, 1 now. And then 1 on the A, 3 on the E. So that's I'm gonna. And then when we go to the word B, what you're going to do is you're going to take your middle finger and your index finger off, but you're going to leave the ring finger. Very important here because that ring finger is then going to slide up to 6. And then with that ring finger there, you're going to build essentially a G chord shape. So, you know, your everyday G down here, we're going to be playing up. So the index finger on 5 of the C, that ring finger which just slid up should be on 6 of the E, and the middle finger on 5 of the A. So what's cool about this is you can see that that ring finger from the previous chord, the 0, 3, 3, 1, is going to stay on for the 0, 5, 6, 5. And it's really fun to play when you get it because you're just kind of flip-flopping the fingers while the ring finger stays on board. So when we slide up there, that gives us the word B, and then like will just be the 6 on the E. So just that measure 16 is going to be I'm gonna be like. And just so that we can hear that whole part, measure 13 through 16 should sound something like this, where we have, starting with 13, the 8s on the E and the A, was away, and he was, and then we go down to talking for I knew it, and as he grew, he'd say, I'm gonna be like. Now going right into the next bar here, which is going to be the end of the verse going into the start of the chorus, we're going to play the word U, and U is just going to be a C chord. It really doesn't matter what finger that we use here. We could use the middle finger if we'd like, because we can slide down into it, but it's not too important because this chord lasts so long. What's more important is when we play the word dad. When we play the word dad, we have to make sure that we use our ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string. And then we play that note again. Now the reason why we're using our ring finger there is because here at measure 18, we go back to that 0, 3, 3, 1 chord. And our ring finger is that linchpin where the middle finger crosses over and the index finger comes underneath. So we have middle finger here on 3 of the C, ring finger here on 3 of the E, and index here on 1 of the A. So we can come through all 4 strings. So when we start with 17, it doesn't matter what finger plays the C chord, but then we have to use our ring on dad, U, so that we can go, no, I'm gonna, which you'll notice is all in the chord where we go through on no, 1 on the A for I'm, 1 on the A for gun, 3 on the E for na, and then when we go to B, same thing that we just did. That ring finger slides up to 6 on the E, index and middle flip-flop so that the index is here on 5 of the C, middle finger here on 5 of the A. We strum through all of them. B, like, the word like is just 6 on the E, and then U is a C chord through. Then we're going to play another C chord, and then this is really what starts section C. So just so you can hear it, his 17, 18, and 19 before it starts doing and Cats in the Cradle and the silver with the silver spoon, the main hook of the song. So 17 through 19 should be something like this. You, dad, you know I'm gonna be like you. Now jumping right into the C section, the chorus, we're going to play and the cats in the cradle in the, right? So now really straightforward, a whole bunch of C notes or 3 on the A, but you see that weird note at the very end. You see that 8 on the A for the word the. This is something that happened when I was arranging the song to help facilitate what happens next. And even though you can't see what happens at the next measure in 21, that 8 on the E is what's going to set it all up. So what we want to do is when we're playing this C chord for Cats in the Cradle with the silver spoon, we want to play our index finger here on 3 of the A. So we have, and the cats in the cradle with, and then on the word the, our pinky is going to jump all the way up to 8 on the E, which is the same note, exactly the same pitch. But the reason we're using this 8 on the E is because when we play and the cats in the cradle with the, when we go on to this next part for the word silv of silver spoon, you'll notice we need to play 5, 5, 6, 5. By having our pinky jump up to 8, we can then use these fingers to come back down to play silver spoon. So it's all about setting everything up, where we have cats in the cradle with the silver spoon. Really cool. It's super fun to play, and it seems really inefficient, but it's actually really efficient because it moves the hand. If we tried to go cats in the cradle with the silver spoon, it'd be almost impossible. But by having that 8 on the E's, in the cradle with the silver spoon, makes it much easier. So now when we play silv, it's up here. Ver is going to be the 5 on the G string. If you're on a low G uke, that's again where you have to play 8 on the E. Ver, spoon, 6 on the E. Then we strum through the chord. Just filler, no lyrics associated there. And then we go down to our chord that we've been playing earlier, the 0, 3, 3, 1, that same chord shape that we've been doing throughout this arrangement. And that's going to be little boy, blue, and the. Really straightforward, all in that sort of position. Little boy, blue, and the. And then we're going to just take this and slide it up 2 frets. So it's the exact same shape. So middle finger here on 5 of the C, ring finger here on 5 of the E, index here on 3 of the A. Strum through our G, C, and E strings, or excuse me, our C, E, and A strings, avoiding the G string. And that gives us Man in the Moon. Now at this point on 23, you'll notice these markers are written where we have this little V and this little almost, 3/4 square. The V means an upstroke and the square means a downstroke. So we're going to go up, down, up on that chord. So still holding the 5s and 3s there, we have Man in the Moon, up, down, up. And then, as we go into 24, you'll notice that it goes to a C chord. All that you have to do to downstroke this C chord is take your middle and ring fingers off and strum through. So again, those little markers are telling you to use your index finger to strum. And with a lot of the different tutorials I've done here on this page, you'll notice that those are used. Some songs use more and some songs use less. This one only uses it right here, but I think it works to great effect. So if we start with Little Boy Blue and the Man in the Moon, it would be Little Boy Blue and the sliding up, Man in the Moon, up, down, and then that's When You Comin' Home, Dad, I. Going back to that 8 on the E for the last note there on this measure 24 for the word I. So to hear 21 now through 24, it should be something like this. We have silver spoon, little boy blue, and the man on the moon, up, down, up, when you comin' home, Dad, and then 8 on the E. And you see it's a difficult jump. As I'm playing it here and not thinking enough, it's like, oh wait, where is it? And so you want to get really comfortable with that pinky jumping up to 8 on the E. And the reason is now when we go on the next part here, we have don't know when. It's going back to that same shape. Bar across the 5th fret with the index, middle finger here on 5 of the E string, 6 on the E string. So you have 5, 5, 6, 5. We play through our C, E, and A strings, and then our G string, and then our E string. And then at the end of this measure, you'll notice that 3 on the E. It could be very tempting to just slide the middle finger down, but don't, because the next chord goes back to that 0, 3, 3, 1. So make sure on that word but, you use your ring finger to play that. So that now when we go to 26, we build that same shape we've been using a whole lot, 0, 3, 3, 1, with our middle here on 3, ring finger here on 3, index here on 1 of the C, E, and A strings. And we're going to go will be to, and then together, what we're going to do is slide that ring finger up to 6, take the other 2 fingers off, and flip-flop them. Index goes here to 5 on the C, middle goes here to 5 on the A. So we did that earlier in the song too, and it's, again, my favorite transition. We'll be together, and you'll notice for there, or we're going to play the 6 on the E. And then we're going to play a C chord. And I like to use my index finger here because it's just easiest to kind of jump down, but you could also use your middle finger and slide it down. It doesn't really matter which fingers play that C chord. What does matter though is the next note. the word sun, same thing as before. We want to use our ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E, because then we're going to play you'll know we'll have a good time. So that chord, that 0 3 3 1 that we've been playing throughout the song, needs that ring finger here on the 3 of the E. So by playing that 3 on the E on the word sun, you help set that all up. So we have sun, you'll go back to this chord. No, we'll have a, slide up the ring finger to 6 on the A, add the other 2 fingers. Same thing we've been doing before, exact same part. The actual notes in between might be a little bit different. In this case, it goes through the chord, E, A, E, and then slide up to that chord, and then the E string. And then we play a C chord. And that actually completes the chorus. But so that we can hear that end section, let's listen to measure 25 through 28 with the words. So that should be something like this. Don't know when, but we'll be together then. Son, you know we'll have a good time then. So now from this point, we go to the outro of the song, which is actually the same thing as the intro. It's exactly the same notes, so no new stuff to learn here. We start with the index here on 8 of the E and the 10 on the A with the ring. Go up to the 12. Same little ring finger movement on the 10. Little bar there. Move down. Exactly the same as the intro. So the outro should sound something like this. And that is Cats in the Cradle, which again is an absolutely beautiful melody. Now, obviously, the original version of the song is much longer. It's like a 7-minute tune. And if you play through what we've just worked on here, it's about a minute or so. And what happens in the song is a lot of these sections repeat and play with different variations to the words to really tell the story, which is quite a sad one, I have to say, but the melody is very beautiful. So when you're practicing this, feel free to repeat and play it. You can put the intro and outro in different places. You can repeat the chorus, repeat the verses with small variations, and really make it your own. So it's a great tune for that. I have a 3-year-old son right now, and when I was working on arranging the song and looking at the lyrics, I have to say I got a little bit upset because, wow, it's a powerful song, but it's pretty cool because I get to be home with my kid thanks to these videos and my Patreon page and everyone that supports me there. It's really amazing that I get to be a stay-at-home dad and work from home, teaching music to everybody around the world. It's really amazing. So thank you to everyone who supported me, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys next month for the next episode of this song tutorial series, and can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Thanks a lot. Take it easy.